Hey everybody, Alex Dorio here. Just want to give you a quick heads up before you listen to this week's episode of Talking Taker. First of all, thanks for downloading the episode, and just wanted to apologize. This is not our best sounding episode. Had a couple problems as we were recording this. I was trying out a new method of recording that's hopefully going to give Travis, who we connect with on Skype, a better sound quality. And if you'll notice, hopefully he does sound better, but unfortunately we had some issues with some feedback, some clicking and popping that I could not detect as I was recording it. I listened back to the episode and it was pretty bad, but I've run it through a couple programs, hopefully made it listenable for you. I think it sounds a lot better than it did when I first listened to it back, so hopefully it's okay, and just apologies for that. Also, you'll hear my dogs running around in the background quite a bit on this episode. I've just moved to a new house and we've just got a new dog in our family, so not fully aware of how much noise they were making again until I listened back to this. So we will work on both of those things and hopefully have a better sounding episode for you next week. You might hear one of those dogs moving around right now. So yeah, we'll work on those for next week, but I appreciate your patience and listening back, and appreciate all you guys for listening for the past 22 episodes. Here's episode number 23. Come back to us next week. It'll sound a whole lot better. Take her easy. All right, everybody, welcome back to Talking Taker. We are here, episode number 23 of the podcast, digging up the career of professional wrestling's greatest character of all time. We appreciate you joining us for yet another round of Dead Man Talking. My name is Alex Dorio. I am one of your hosts, one of the creatures of the night, and I am joined, as always, by my tag team partner, my co-host, my fellow creature of the night out there, Mr. Travis White. And Travis, I know you always like to tie in the numbers of these episodes, so, I mean, 23, what number does that represent in The Undertaker's career?
Well, you know, he's like the Michael Jordan of the WWF, and Jordan's number was 23. So
you could say
that's what I'm going to go with here.
But
also, my birthday is the 23rd.
I mean, your birthday is April 23rd, but, I mean, you're missing the obvious one.
Oh, this batch is on June 23rd. Is that one?
Nope. Come on.
Dang it. Well, hit me with it. I don't know.
We now have as many episodes as The Undertaker has wins at WrestleMania, number 23.
Oh,
and The Undertaker, of course, is 23-2 at WrestleMania. Come on, man.
No, I'm sorry. I'll be honest, once he got that one loss or brought Lesnar, I lost count of what the record was. So,
True. That's fair.
Yeah, I know he's got 2 losses, but I lost count of the wins, how many wins there were. I know there's 2 losses, I forgot how many wins there were. So
Yeah.
23-2.
23-2. And I guess
apologies.
1,000 forgivenesses. But he could be 23-3, or he could be 24-2 as of later this year, because the rumor mills are still going. They're still buzzing. We are still now just a couple days away from finding out The Undertaker's role at Raw 25, what he's coming back for, and I guess what his role will be at WrestleMania 34, if there is a role there. I think you and I were both thinking and hoping that maybe he would be announced for the Hall of Fame this year, but I think the odds of that kind of went down when we heard that Goldberg was going to be the first inductee into the Hall of Fame this year, and they usually announce the headliner first, and you know Undertaker would definitely be the headliner the year that he goes in. So I don't know, man. As we're getting a little bit closer to Raw 25, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see, like everybody else, to see what the Undertaker's role is going to be.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like you said, you and I both hope he's done in the ring, because it just ended in a good way and allowed us to do this podcast.
Right.
So, anyway, we'll cover that match when we get to it if he does come back. But yeah, I agree. I don't think he's going to be the headliner at the Hall of Fame, because, yeah, Goldberg's got that. So we'll see what happens. I don't know.
We heard
Maybe
from
he'll come back
you.
on Monday with purple gloves or gray gloves.
That would be great if he comes out at 25 with the old school look. We heard from you.
Bring out El Dandy. I don't know if you guys saw that picture we put on our Facebook page of him and El Dandy from, I guess, 1988 or 9 or something, 90. I don't know.
Where did you find that thing from?
I have my sources.
Oh, okay.
I have my sources. Who are you to question El Dandy?
I mean, who am I to doubt you and El Dandy?
Or doubt, yes.
We did put a poll up for you, our fellow fans, our fellow creatures of the night out there, asking what you thought was going to happen at Raw 25, and it was kind of split a little bit, but number one response was we think you guys think that The Undertaker is going to challenge John Cena. That got 43% of the vote, and the Hall of Fame announcement got 29% of the vote. Undertaker declaring himself for the Royal Rumble got 14% of the vote, and The Undertaker making an official retirement announcement got another 14% of the vote. So it could be one of those four things. Seems like a lot of people are thinking he might face John Cena. Who knows? He could face somebody else. Could face Braun Strowman, maybe. I know that was talked about last year or a couple years ago as well as a possible thing. So it's all up in the air. The WWE, you never know what will happen in the World Wrestling Federation, as Vince McMahon likes to say. So we'll find
Absolutely.
out along with you. And we may even break in with a special breaking news update of Talking Taker, depending on what happens this Monday night, if it's newsworthy, and I'm sure it will be. So be on the lookout for your podcast feed. We may try to break in before next Friday's episode with just a special little quick analysis of what we see from The Undertaker. And just real quick, speaking of polls, we did take a poll on last week's episode on the match between Undertaker and Goldust. And before we get into this week's episode, again, that was kind of split as well. We had 40% of the vote giving that match a thumbs up, and then we had another 40% giving it a thumbs in the middle, so sort of so-so, and then 20% giving it a thumbs down, which I think is where I would lean as well for last week's matchup. Not my favorite match, but a great angle to end the match and to lead us into this week's discussion of King of the Ring 1996, Undertaker and Mankind.
For sure, yeah, we appreciate you listeners and everybody on Twitter and Facebook, responding to those polls we put up and everything, and the shout outs we get, and yeah, it's just been good. We have the time of this recording, we have almost 900 followers, so that's, I know, blown both of us away, and we're excited about that, and thank you all, and we'll keep pumping out episodes as long as Undertaker keeps going. So we got a lot to go. We've covered a lot of ground so far. We've already done almost 6 years now, and got a long ways to go, but we're excited. Let's keep it going. King of the Ring 96, a very iconic pay-per-view. For those of you who've been sleeping under a rock, and by sleeping I mean living under a rock,
or sleeping in a casket like The Undertaker does.
Or sleeping in a broken casket, courtesy of Diesel. King of the Ring 96, big show, big turning point for one man's career. That is Stone Cold Steve Austin, the former ringmaster, former Stunning Steve Austin. He won this, again, according to the rumors. Triple H was supposed to win, I believe, but then because of the curtain call, he kind of got had to eat all the poo-poo for that, and because he was the only one stuck behind, and Shawn Michaels was champ, so he had to eat the poop for that, and Steve Austin got the win, and a great night for him, and this is where Austin 316 is born, and on a future episode of Raw, we'll talk about, but they recapped the show, and Vince McMahon says it was the greatest pay-per-view card in the history of the World Wrestling Federation. I highly disagree, but it was a good show.
The epitome of hyperbole, Vince McMahon. Never lets us down in that area. It is obviously the coming out party for Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he's going to play a big role in this podcast in the years to come. And I think people kind of sleep on this match, on Mankind and Undertaker from this pay-per-view. This is not like their most famous battle at all. It's their first battle, their first time stepping in the ring with each other on pay-per-view. But we remember the Boiler Room Brawl. Of course, we remember Hell in a Cell from 1998. But and Buried Alive, even. A lot of people remember that one. But, even I'd kind of forgotten that their first matchup was here at King of the Ring. It doesn't have the same fanfare. It's kind of a sleeper match for sure. And for me, it was really exciting to go back and watch it. And we'll cover it here in just a minute. We're going to get through all the build-up set the scene for it first. And I just want to say real quick, this was kind of we talked on the last couple episodes about this 1996 being a rebuilding year for the World Wrestling Federation. How, they've lost Diesel, lost Razor Ramon, Bret Hart is out trying to find himself or whatever he's doing before he comes back. So we're building up new stars, and you see that with Stone Cold winning the King of the Ring. And to me, it was like, as I was watching these Raws and this pay-per-view, it reminded me of like a baseball team who's kind of going through a rebuilding year, who's kind of bottomed out like they did in 1995. But then you've got this whole lineup in the WWF. You've got the new young stars who aren't quite there yet, but are going to be big stars for the future, like Stone Cold, like
Triple H.
Triple H is there. You've got Brian Pillman coming in, who they think is going to be a big star. Unfortunately, doesn't quite work out like that. But you've got Goldust, Bradshaw.
Rocky Maivia is on the way.
Rocky Maivia is coming in. Then you've got the old veterans who are there, kind of raising them up, and they're putting them in a bigger role as well, with guys like Jerry Lawler, who is doing more and more on these cards. Jake the Snake Roberts has come back in. Ultimate Warrior is back for a little while. Bob Backlund is still hanging around on these shows doing stuff. And then you've got just like the duds, like the bottom of the barrel guys who are just filling up your roster to take up space. Because we're seeing on these shows, you've still got Duke the Dumpster Droese is still hanging around. Barry Horowitz is still hanging around. T.L. Hopper is still hanging around. The Goon is still hanging around. Like in 1996, man, they just seem so outdated with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Brian Pillman still on the card now. It's just such a weird juxtaposition with all these guys. And soon enough, in 97 and 98, we're going to see this roster, this team really hit their stride and have their championship season right there in those years. But now it's still the rebuilding year where you're seeing glimpses of hope, but you've still got those little things just holding you back. You're not quite there yet. But I don't know. It just struck me as something interesting as a baseball fan. I kind of saw some parallels to the rebuilding in that process.
No, absolutely, and through it all, you got your benchmark player and the Undertaker. Mm-hmm. He's been there since the old era with Hogan and Flair, and back when Bob Backlund was, younger and more relevant than he is at this point in '96. So, and he's kind of the linchpin holding all these characters together. It's crazy, man.
He's the Chipper Jones of the WWF. Period. There you go. King of the Ring 96, this feud started off the night after WrestleMania, as we talked about on our last episode. We saw Mankind attack The Undertaker and leave him laying there for the first time, and then the feud continued on as Mankind took out The Undertaker after his match with Goldust at Beware of Dog, and the show ended with Mankind stuffing Undertaker in the casket, the smoke billowing up out of the casket, and then the casket lid being taken off, Paul Bearer screaming, not knowing where The Undertaker is, leaving us with a big mystery going into Raw the night after on June 3rd, 1996. And we still don't see The Undertaker that night, but we do see Mankind as The Undertaker Goldust feud gets put on the back burner. We transition back to Undertaker and Mankind. And Mankind has a big warm-up for his big King of the Ring matchup by going up against our favorite jobber, Mr. BH, Barry Horowitz. Another main event anywhere in the country.
That diesel punch to the face still.
Yeah, he's still recovering from that. Mankind takes care of him pretty handily. But Vince McMahon, after the match, sends JR into the ring to talk with Mankind, says, hey, you know Mankind better than anybody. You should get in there and talk with him. So a little nod maybe to what you were talking about on the last episode. JR brought Mankind into the company. And they're really building up Mankind here. They're talking about Mankind being The Undertaker's toughest challenge ever, which I think is true. He's definitely left him laying more than anyone ever has. And now we finally got somebody to match up with The Undertaker's intensity. Somebody to bring the best out of him, to bring some great matches out of him. And Mankind has a great promo here on this episode.
Undertaker, you can't take my ear. It's already gone. You can't take my teeth. They're already gone. Of all the things I've lost in life, I think I missed my mind the most. And at the King of the Ring, you're going to lose it all! What I tell you,
Really intense, really building you up, really making you want to see him go up against The Undertaker. I really enjoyed it. And just one other quick little note about this episode was that in the build-up, or on commentary during this match, Vince McMahon says The Undertaker disappeared the night before, and then he reappeared the next day. And I was just like, what? What do you mean? Where did he reappear to? How do you know that? Did Paul Bearer give you the scoop? Did you call the Superstar line 1-900-737-4WWF? I don't know. But apparently he just reappeared the next day somewhere, somehow.
I was wondering, they never really explained that at all. Because then the next week on Raw, we have Undertaker in the main event against the British Bulldog. So yeah, they never really explain, follow up that storyline. But I guess that's their little, way to get around it. Vince just like, oh, by the way, he's back.
Yeah, he reappeared.
Wish we could have seen it unfold.
Nope.
So, nope, not a chance.
Not a chance.
So yeah, man, I missed that Mankind promo you're talking about. I completely skipped over that episode of Raw. My dates were wrong and I skipped it. So I'm glad to know that they touched upon it because there's not too much build between our last pay-per-view and this one because a lot of it's been built up, like you said, since WrestleMania. It's been building up on every Raw since then, and
there's only 3 weeks of shows technically because they missed that Raw in between the first Beware of Dog and the second Beware of Dog. I mean, they have that Raw, but they kind of got to reassemble their plans a little bit. They can't quite start the build up because they can't quite show you the match that they want to show you because they missed it during Beware of Dog. So you're missing a week of build up that we would normally have.
Yeah. So then on Raw on June 10th, it's Undertaker versus British Bulldog for the main event, and this one's it's a good match. I wouldn't go out of your way to watch the whole thing, but I would, if you're gonna watch it, go watch. Just fast forward to the end because this is where Mankind interferes by holding Undertaker's leg from underneath the ring. So Bulldog and Undertaker on the outside fighting, and I believe Mankind had a match earlier in the night. I can't remember, but anyway, he wasn't very prominently featured on the episode. But anyway, at the end, Undertaker and Bulldog are on the outside, and referee, I think it's Tim White, is counting the 10 count. And as Undertaker tries to get back in the ring up on the apron, you see Mankind's arms reach out from under the ring and hold him and grab him down, and referee counts 10, and he can't beat the 10 count. So Undertaker loses again. Again, he's not taking a pinfall or anything, but he's still losing. Mm-hmm. So Mankind's got his number, He's really taking it to him. That's boss the department.
Yeah, that's the whole story of this match. He's got his number like no one ever else has. And, like you said, it's not a great match. It's a TV match. It's nothing special. There's a really long headlock in the middle of it. Yeah. Oh, my goodness, it's so long. The only thing I was thinking was, it's not really worth watching, but you just notice watching these sort of matches that Undertaker just makes it look easy, man. He still has the crowd in the palm of his hand, and he's not even going 100% out there. But they are just into whatever he is doing, and it's not as easy as he makes it look, And he just has a special skill of doing that, of connecting with the crowd, and not everybody can do that. But he does it here, and once again, Mankind ends the show looking strong, standing over the Undertaker, and.
Because he hits the wedgie pile driver, I call it. Mankind does this pile driver where basically, if you've never seen it, he pulls your underwear basically or your tights, and that's how he picks you up. Rather than most guys will wrap their arms around your waist, pick you up, stand you up straight, and then drop you on your head. Mankind just grabs your trunks and just basically sits down, and I call it a wedgie pile driver. I always have. When I used to do it on my wrestling dummy that my aunt made me, or you probably, we just called it the wedgie pile driver.
Yep.
So he does that, which I just wrote. It's so impactful. Like it looks like it hurts worse. And again, this Mankind character is like deranged, crazy. We don't know that he's been trained in the performance center. He's got half an ear. He's got scars all over his body. He rips his own hair out. So I like the nuance there that it doesn't look like he's not a polished, ring general like Ric Flair or even Steve Austin at this point, or Triple H. He's kind of brawly and just doesn't have good technique, I know, but it looks nasty, He's
different. He stands out. It fits the character for sure. And then
all these jabronis from the backstage try to come keep him like at bay.
Try to keep him separated.
As the thing goes, as the show fades to black.
So just one other little note about that is Undertaker and British Bulldog. That's a rematch of the Undertaker's only successful WWF Championship defense up to this point. Because the one time he held the title, the only time he defended it was on some house shows back in 1991 against the British Bulldog. So it's our first time seeing that match, and Bulldog gets the win in this one. No, Undertaker gets the win by DQ, actually. Sorry, I messed that up. But
No, Bulldog got the win by countout.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So it's 1-1.
One and one
match.
And they're really building up. The commentary is talking more about Bulldog and Shawn Michaels for the WWF title, which makes sense. That's the WWF Championship match. So yeah, not much as far as building up Undertaker and Mankind here. And then there's not much on June 17th either on that next Raw, the go home show.
I do want to mention one little thing though. This is the episode where Stone Cold debuts the Stone Cold Stunner. He wrestles Savio Vega, and as far as I could tell, I researched various websites, various things to look at and see if he ever did the Stunner before this. I couldn't find it on any house show reports or anything. So unless someone wants to prove me wrong, which is fine, I'm wrong sometimes. But this is where I think he debuted the Stone Cold Stunner against Savio Vega, and the commentary doesn't know. It's just like kind of, what a maneuver! Oh, look at that match, or look at that move. But because you don't know what it's going to become, and he doesn't do the kick to the stomach yet or anything. He just kind of grabs your neck and falls. So
pretty cool, significant moment. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just thought it was a neat little nugget. As we're watching the WWF change and grow, and all these characters, like you said, all this new blood is kind of growing at the same time. So. And again, even Undertaker's changing. We'll talk about that as we get through actually to this match. But Vince kind of recaps the Mankind vs. Undertaker feud that's been building since April after the Steve Austin match. When he debuts the Stunner, and then Taker gives a really short promo backstage. It's just his face, and he says, "At King of the Ring, Mankind, you will pay for your sins. And I will take your tormented soul and plunge it into the eternal darkness for which I am master." Sorry, I had to do that.
That was perfect.
Yeah. But that's all the new build-up, man. There's nothing else. So
that was it. The other significant thing that happened on that Raw, besides Stone Cold debuting the Stunner, with his former tag team partner, Brian Pillman. This is the episode where they announced that he is signed with the WWF. And, I just wanted to mention that because, can you imagine Brian Pillman and The Undertaker if they had been able to feud with each other and do something, the loose cannon up there playing mind games with The Undertaker, cutting promos on him. Unfortunately, we never got that. So we're not really going to have another chance to talk about him. I just was thinking.
Look what he and Steve Austin did with the gun angle and breaking the. He and Undertaker could have done some craziness. So that's a missed opportunity. Unfortunately, he passed away too early.
Yeah, it's a shame. And then on a lighter note, I wanted to mention something I heard Jerry Lawler say on commentary during this episode of Raw, because Goldust has moved on to feuding with Jake the Snake Roberts, and Jerry Lawler says, and I quote, "I hope Goldust likes his snake long because he's going to eat a big python one-on-one here with Jake Roberts." I just thought,
whoops,
dear Lord, you can't say that on television.
Man.
You shouldn't say that on television.
You can't. Remember that show on Nickelodeon? You can't do that on television?
Yeah.
We should have stamped that right over that comment. Yeah. Whoops-a-daisy. Yeah, Lawler, man, he was unchained.
Oh my goodness.
He was just off the leash, running wild in the commentary. I love it. It's so great.
Yeah, King was on fire here going into the King of the Ring. And so let's jump into it. I believe this is June 23rd, 1996. And the King is actually not... Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The King is not going to be on commentary because he's got a matchup with the Ultimate Warrior, which... Yeah, I just want to talk about that for just a second as we go into the show. But the commentary team, how about this for a commentary team, man? Vince McMahon, Jim Ross, and instead of Jerry the King Lawler, we get our one and only appearance of Owen Hart on commentary. What an interesting choice.
Yeah, man, I agree. It was definitely at first I was like, man, this is kind of weird. But as I was rewatching the show, I was like, I kind of like it though because Owen Hart had nothing to do, right? He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't on the show. He wasn't in the King of the Ring. He's a former champion of the King of the Ring, right? He won in '94, right? Because Brett
94.
won '93, he won '94, and you
Yep.
were just reminding me that Mabel won '95. I tried to block that out. Mabel won '95. So again, he's not doing anything. So I kind of liked that he was on the show on commentary. It was different. He's I don't know. He doesn't have the quick wit like everybody, but he does have some good lines, and I'll point them out as we get into the match. But I just thought it was kind of neat that he was on commentary.
Yeah, and I don't
It's
know
different,
when
though.
it was different. I don't know when we'll talk about Owen again because I don't know that I don't believe he's involved in any more matches with the Undertaker going forward. But man, I love Owen Hart. I did back when I was a kid. He was like the first heel I ever really started to appreciate and be a fan of. He was fantastic. You gave me the Owen Hart Blu-ray that came out a couple years ago that WWE put out, and it's a great documentary. I wish the documentary part is not on the network. I wish it was so everybody could see it because, man, he was an incredible talent, special, underrated talent, and I do hope he gets a nod into the Hall of Fame one day. They can work out all the family issues and all that. He definitely deserves to be there.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a shame we don't get to see him and Undertaker because the match that he and Brett had was awesome, and that they will have are awesome. And so I wish that we could have seen Owen because he's got Brett's technique, but he's also kind of a high flyer too. So it would have been really fun to see he and Undertaker go at it. So, but anyway, I do want to say one thing. So you talked about Jake the Snake's in this. He makes it to the finals against Stone Cold. In the King of the Ring, but they keep on commentary the whole night talking about how old he is, how old Jake the Snake is, how he's so old. He's so old. Do you know how old he is here?
I think he's like
In
42, something like
He's
that.
41 years old.
41. Okay.
He's 41. AJ Styles is 40 years old. John Cena is 40 years old right now. Look at their body. So it says two things. One thing is like 40 is not that old anymore. These guys can still go. But also, look at his body, because Jake the Snake is 41, but he looks 61 here.
Yes, that's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah. Kudos to AJ Styles and John Cena and those guys. And, I mean, freaking Chris Jericho just went at Wrestle Kingdom. He's 47, and he's lost some steps, but he still looked great, So, 41 ain't what he used to be back in 96.
Yeah, I mean, 41 for Jake the Snake Roberts is like 61 or 71. I mean, just looking at his gut, his hairline, or whatever, so you can get away with doing that kind of storyline that you couldn't necessarily do with AJ Styles. But yeah, that's a great point. And we're gonna see Undertaker late into his 40s as well. Not quite looking like AJ Styles, but not quite looking like Jake the Snake either. But man, well, I wonder how old Jerry the King Lawler is on this show too, because he plays a crucial part in it, having a match with Ultimate Warrior. And I just ended up watching that. I've talked before, I love Jerry the King Lawler. The older I get, the more I appreciate what he does in the ring. And
Absolutely.
you don't need to go check out his match with Ultimate Warrior here. It's nothing special at all. But I do recommend, it comes on right before the Mankind Undertaker match. Go check out his intro as he's walking to the ring, because he's got the mic and he is just ragging and ripping on the fans like individually as he walks down to the ring. And again, he is saying stuff that you cannot say on TV in 2018, not on a family-friendly PG show. Just like, it's not even crude, it's just like mean to these fans.
Yeah.
Like, it would not pass the Be a Star test at all. But it is, your mouth will drop, and it is hilarious to watch him do that. It's just a masterclass. And his match with Ultimate Warrior, again, like I said, it does provide a stark contrast to this match, because Jerry Lawler's style, he never takes a bump. He's just working the crowd, like stalling and doing all this other stuff. That is also professional wrestling. Professional wrestling is intense. It can be brutal. It can be high flying. It can be bloody. It can be silly. It can be goofy. It can be big, over the top. And Jerry Lawler does that like nobody else does. And we're going to see in this match, as we jump into it right now, Mankind and Undertaker, they're going to go to the complete opposite spectrum of that and just have a really, really physical, brutal, intense matchup with each other that's going to raise the bar in another way in the WWF. And I thought it was a great match, really underrated match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think didn't Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett just wrestle like 2 weeks ago at the Memphis Grizzlies game?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
he's still going today, you know.
He can still do
22
that.
years later.
Yep.
Yeah, he can.
And that says something because Mankind and Undertaker can't really go anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Says something. So, but getting into this match, what we came here for, Mankind comes out first, and Vince McMahon points out in commentary how he's put the Undertaker out 3 times with the mandible claw, and I think we've recapped all 3 of those times here on the show. But he says, "Is this the man who has Undertaker's ticket?"
Yes.
Which I thought was really cool because, like you said, he's vulnerable, man. I keep pointing out how ever since that Bret Hart match, he's shown more vulnerability, especially with Diesel, and he's becoming less supernatural, more vulnerable, and more human-like. Almost said more human than human. Little Rob Zombie reference there. Which that song probably came out in 95, 96, so it was pertinent at this point. Yeah, really human here, and but they're really putting over his unpredictability, his being Mankind, his unpredictability, his deranged personality. Like I said, he's got the half an ear and pulls his hair out. Dude, do you remember how scarred up his arms were?
Yeah.
They were terrifying back then, man.
He was a very scary character to a little kid watching this. And yeah, he's kind of Mankind's being booked like the Undertaker was when he first came in.
Yeah.
He's being pushed up to the top like Undertaker
Bray Wyatt
was.
Should be. Like Bray Wyatt should have been.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's the textbook example of that and of how they failed in that area. So Mankind is like the perfect antithesis to the Undertaker. Undertaker comes out, he gets another huge pop, and
enormous.
JR says it's going to be a slobber knocker.
This is going to be a slobber knocker. 200-300-plus pounders that have a total disdain for each other. This is going to be physical.
Glad you pointed that out. I had that written down too.
And he was right.
Yep, we get the debut of the word slobber knocker on pay-per-view for us.
Our first one,
so,
yeah.
Yep.
Paul Bearer comes out with no Undertaker here at this entrance. We hear Undertaker's music, but Paul Bearer comes out. He's acting like he doesn't know where Undertaker is, and much like last month, the lights come up, but this time Undertaker is not only in the ring, he is on the top rope waiting for Mankind. And Mankind, I'm like, come on, man, you got to do your research, man. Did you not watch the last pay-per-view, man? You got to be looking around for Undertaker. You got to have your head on swivel for the Undertaker, man. He missed the boat there.
Exactly. He did. But, man, I want to put this entrance over, man. It's so cool because, you know, the lights are all down and production, today's standards, they'd have had it even done better. But even back then, they had it done really well. The hard camera is on the ring. When the lights come up, you see Undertaker perched on the, like a gargoyle, you know, just like on the top rope, looking like a big, scary, terrifying gargoyle.
Yeah.
And the crowd, it takes them, half a second to realize it, and then they just go, they go nuts, and Mankind kind of turns into it, and he just jumps off, wailing away at Mankind. I mean, just absolutely, I wrote, he's just losing his mind.
Yes.
Throwing punches, kicks, body punches. It's kind of what, you know, I didn't remember him having this style back in 96. I remembered it kind of as he became, you know, once he started debuting Hell's Gate. I forgot he had this in 96. I mean, he is just absolutely obliterating Mankind here, like a boxing match.
I love it. He's just vicious, wailing on him in the corner. It was awesome. Looked very real, which is what you would expect coming from a guy who's been beaten down that much by Mankind. He lets him have it.
It's telling that perfect story. You know, you brought up, I think you brought up several times, how that blood feud between Randy Orton and Triple H, you know, at WrestleMania 25 started with like a collar and elbow tie-up, you know, and it was like, if you get disqualified, you lose the match. Like, are you kidding me? Let these guys go at it and kill each other, you know, which is what happens here. You know, these guys, I mean, Undertaker is so human here. He's got emotion. He is not just an old scary monster from the horror novels anymore. He's got emotion here, and he's beating the mess out of Mankind, which is cool to see. And then when they go to the outside, Mankind just goes up to Paul Bearer and's like, squeals at him.
Screams at him.
I love it. Yeah.
That was funny. Undertaker responds to that. He goes and tries to rip Mankind's mask off at one point, which is kind of interesting. Does the old school, of course, dominates the first little section of the match, but Mankind takes control for a little bit, gets a body slam on Undertaker, and I just noticed, man, just Mankind. We talked a little bit about it. He's just in great shape at this point. Just thinking about the many different shapes that we've seen Mick Foley in. We've seen him
literal shapes.
Exactly.
Because round is a shape.
He is probably in the best shape of his life, I would say. Here in this match, he's never been ripped. He's never had like a 6-pack or big biceps or anything like that. But he looks trim, he looks slim, he looks strong, and he's going in this match. He looks awesome. And he does the elbow off the apron on the Undertaker here that we mentioned, and that's his signature, and probably took a lot of life off of his career doing that night after night after night. But man, it looked cool when he did it.
He did a little short one, right? This one that he does, because he comes in later and does another one. But this was a little short one just to the outside. But it's probably why he can't walk right nowadays.
Right. Yep.
He killed his hip jumping on that. But I want to say one thing too is, we pointed out a couple times, and I know Stone Cold talks about on his podcast, that Undertaker will sell for you, but he does what they call selling on the run. He's not gonna just lay there like a dead fish. He sells, but he's still moving it. And you keep pointing out when he's in a headlock or a sleeper, he fights. He fights to get out of it. Which the only guy I recognize doing that nowadays is AJ Styles. Mm-hmm. If you have him in the attitude adjustment, he's gonna move and kick around and flail until you slam him down. But Undertaker does that this whole time, even though he's getting beat up by Mankind. When he's in control, he's selling on the run, and it's just cool to see these little nuances, because he's not just dying here in the middle of the ring and getting beat up. He's fighting back. He has a little hope spot, a punch or a kick or something, or gets one little chop in, but then Mankind is still in control. So it's really cool to see, because his psychology is just incredible. The more we watch him, the more I'm just like, man, this guy knows what's going on from day one. He's so good.
Exactly. A unique talent and a unique mind for the business, no doubt about it. We've seen that time and time again. And something else unique I noticed in this match was the WWF blimp that was floating around on the outside of the inside the arena, outside the ring. I don't know why. I just noticed that. I don't really have anything to say about it. It was just there. It was the first time I noticed.
They should do drones with those now. Now the drones are a thing. They should make a WWF blimp drone.
Yeah.
Well, they probably will now.
Drone camera at WrestleMania. I could see that.
Pretty great.
Man, the announcers are great for this. Or JR, I talked about how he's not. I felt like he couldn't quite sell the over the top angle at last month's pay-per-view the best way, but he is perfect for this brutal match. And they are him and Vince are both just getting over how intense this matchup is. How it's not for the weak at heart, how it's brutal, and Undertaker shows that. Mankind picks up a chair, but Undertaker boots it right back into his face, and then back body drops him onto the chair. The crowd is getting into it. Business is about to pick up, as Jim Ross says in there.
Yeah.
And then Undertaker whacks Mankind with a chair.
Wait a minute. The Undertaker with a chair. Oh, God, I heard that smack. Good gosh. A steel chair right across Mankind's head. This resembles a prison riot.
And at this point, I'm like, the ref must be deaf or something, because, it's not a no DQ match, but how do you not hear that chair shot and not turn around and look at it? It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I had to go back and rewind a couple times, because I think he was distracted by Paul Bearer at that point, or he had just been, like, maybe he turned around too soon, but like, it was but these refs, you got to hear stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's a giant thud on a human flesh, and it's just like turns around, doesn't see anything. So I guess if the ref didn't see it, if the ref didn't hear it, it didn't happen either. So, but again, this is Undertaker. We've talked about how even though he's a face, he doesn't mind cheating and choking and stuff, but this is his blatantly, using foreign objects to injure people here. So again, he's getting more emotional, more human. It's just really cool to see, and watch him just nail him across the back. Then he kind of chokes him, hits a big boot back in the ring, and then he goes for a tombstone attempt, but it's reversed into the swinging neck breaker. And I always like Mankind's swinging neck breaker. I just thought it flowed well. I don't know, for being not a ring general, it was just smooth, man. I always liked the way he did it. And then, so Mankind's kind of in charge at this point. He hits a leg drop after a really long sell though. Like so after the neck breaker, they're both kind of on the ground for a while. Then he hits a leg drop and he just goes and squeals like a pig at Undertaker for a little bit. So, yeah, and he goes for the mandible claw here, and Undertaker blocks him. So
he blocks the
kind of cool to see. He finally blocks it,
Yeah, finally fights out of that. But Mankind is able to get him in a nerve hold, which kind of goes for a long time. They're kind of calming the crowd down a little bit as they get ready for the second half of the match to pick him back up again. And Paul Bearer is out conducting the crowd. Some more rest in peace chants, getting them ready to go, psyching the Undertaker up.
Mr. Bear's opus, man. You're welcome.
Can one of our listeners please make us a poster with that on there, Mr. Bear's opus? I'm gonna need that. We will send something to a listener who can cook something up like that up for us. We'll send you something. I don't know what. We'll find something to send you. Something good.
Anyway, sorry. He is, man. He's a maestro out there getting his RIP chants, man. Rest in peace. So good. So. Oh, and then I do want to point out that JR, he again, cool storytelling here. He puts over how Undertaker is really beaten down. He says even though the urn is at ringside, because that's been a big factor in all the the supernatural parts of the Undertaker first 5 years is when the urn's not there, is melted into a chain. He's a little bit more vulnerable. But here he's like, the urn is there. He's got the power, but he's still beaten down. Which I just thought that's a cool little nuance that only someone as brilliant as JR is going to pick up. So.
And I thought Owen Hart was good on commentary here too. He's kind of noting that we're seeing a new Undertaker. He's usually slow and methodical, like you mentioned at the beginning, and now the commentators are picking up on it because now he's hitting them with the quick rights and lefts and doing a different style too.
That's what I wanted to point out. I'm glad you said that because I was about to write in my notes that this is a new Undertaker. And as I'm writing it, like I'm typing my notes. So as I'm typing it, Owen Hart says that same thing. This is a new Undertaker. He's usually slower and more methodical, and he's hitting fast rights and lefts. And I was like, man, what are the odds of that? Like, I forgot that. Or I didn't realize he was going to say that. So it was just kind of cool how we all noticed that at the same time. But yeah, he's coming out like Ronda Rousey, man, just knocking this dude, or I guess Conor McGregor or something, just swinging, man, just right, left, right. It's just really cool to see. Again, it's more of like an MMA fight at this point. It's just slugging away.
It's a
I think
fight.
Vince or JR says like it's like a ballroom brawl or something. These guys are just tearing each other apart.
Yeah, JR said at one point it's like a prison riot. And they're just like...
prison riot, yeah.
No rules, just throwing hands.
Yeah.
They get back outside the ring, and they're doing some stuff with the stairs, throwing each other into the stairs. Mankind does a little running knee smash, smashes Undertaker's head between his knee and the stairs. But then...
he runs all the way around the ring, though. He goes out one side, he runs all the way around the ring, and then he comes in with the knee to the stairs.
He's building momentum,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, momentum equals mass times velocity, man. He knows.
Whoa. So. Whoa. Hold on now. I did not know there would be math on this podcast.
Oh, sorry. You teach physical science. Sorry. Anyway.
But then Undertaker or Mankind goes for that elbow off the apron again, but Undertaker blocks it with a chair. It's another brutal chair shot on the Mankind. Just a wicked chair shot.
On his head.
Yeah.
Oh, it made me uncomfortable. I guess the older I get and the more we hear about the CTE stuff, it's just like, oh, it makes me so uncomfortable to watch that.
Yep.
I know back like when we were watching this, so I was like I hated when guys put their hands up. I was like, what a pansy. But like now I'm like, oh, those guys are geniuses.
Please put your
Mankind
hands up.
doesn't block anything. Yeah. Mankind doesn't block anything. He just takes it around the head, and it hurt me, man.
Yeah, but we're going to see some that Undertaker takes here in the months to come that are just as bad. He gave them out, but he took them too. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he took them just as much as he gave them out. But here again, Owen Hart notes that Undertaker might be getting discouraged here because he's trying everything to put Mankind down, and none of it's working.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's him that said it or if I just wrote it myself, but I just wrote that Undertaker is desperate to hurt this man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just getting desperate. He's grasping at straws, trying to find anything he can do. Because then he just starts headbutting him.
Yeah.
Too bad he wasn't Samoan. He just starts going like Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler style from WrestleMania a few years ago. He just headbutting away at Mankind. So,
but nothing
the more
that
I talk about
Mankind...
this match, the more I love it.
Yeah, it got really good. It was a slow start,
Yeah.
but it got really good. And nothing that Mankind is doing is working either. He does his little wedgie pile driver, and
Yep.
it's a near fall, but Undertaker kicks out of that. So Mankind starts freaking out, pulling his hair out, hits his own head into the turnbuckle a bunch of times, just like having a freak out because he doesn't know what to do, how to put Undertaker away for good. So eventually he steals the urn. And Vince McMahon says something really stupid here. He says he'll be disqualified for sure if he uses that urn. Like, we've already seen him hit each other with chairs, hit each other with stairs, but if he uses the urn, the referee's going to call for the bell off that. You can't, no urns in this match. No urns allowed.
This match is scheduled for one fall with no urns. Dumb.
But JR says after he steals the urn that symbolically he has defeated The Undertaker by stealing the urn. So, I mean,
well, we all know that's not true.
No.
It's happened
happened
the
a
first
million
6
times.
years.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, he rears back to hit the Undertaker here, and he's in the corner. He's selling real big, and he's selling up to the nosebleed section. You know, he definitely has some theatrics in this. He rears the urn way back behind his head, and so everybody can see what he's about to do. And as he goes to hit it, Paul Bearer steals it back. And then Taker sits up, and Mankind tries a mandible claw again, and Taker goozles him and pushes him into the corner. And then this is, I'll let you take the end part away here, because this is where the ending comes.
Paul Bearer loads up the urn, picks it up over his head like he's going to whack Mankind with it. But inadvertently, and I say that with air quotes to show you guys on the podcast, because it's an audio medium, not a visual medium, but
Yeah.
Undertaker, or Paul Bearer, quote unquote, inadvertently whacks the Undertaker in the head with the urn, and Mankind is able to get the pin. And Owen Hart also notes that maybe Paul Bearer did it on purpose. He's quick to say that. Maybe he didn't mean to hit Mankind. He was trying to hit Undertaker the entire time. But Paul Bearer is crying, wailing away. The crowd is stunned, silent. There was no reaction here. They're shocked to see not a clean pinfall, but a rare pinfall over the Undertaker.
Was it a pinfall? Because he has the mandible claw in, but does the ref count anything? I don't remember a pin.
Maybe
I don't remember a 3 count. I just remember
maybe it was
him,
technically
he's on the ring. I think it's just a ref stoppage. Honestly.
Stoppage. Okay, excuse me.
Yeah, it's weird. That's why, because I was confused too. I was like, the ref didn't hit the ring 3 times. He didn't drop his arm 3 times, and I was just kind of like, what happened? It's 18 minutes long. The match 18:21, and so, but at this point, like, yeah, he has a mandible claw on, and I don't know. I guess I assume it was a ref stop or TKO.
You're right.
I don't know. We could go to the official history of WWE, I guess, but I didn't check that. But
No, because
yeah,
that's what the finish has been for all of Mankind's matches. He does have them like their shoulders are on the mat, whoever he's facing when he has him in the mandible claw. But you're right, I just got confused. That it is usually the ref just calling for the bell and not counting the 3 count. So that is what happens here. I apologize. You had it right.
Oh no, it's good, but a rare loss. We haven't seen Undertaker lose too much. And again,
loss.
Mankind has his number here, man.
He does.
He's got his ticket, you know. He's got his number, and he keeps beating him one way or another.
And this is 2 pay-per-views in a row that Undertaker has lost. That's the first time we've seen that on this show.
Sure.
First time he's had a 2-loss streak, and also, man, King of the Ring kind of has his number too. This is 2 losses at 2 King of the Ring appearances, man.
Oh,
Bad luck
at least
at this
this one's
pay-per-view.
good.
Right.
At least this match was good. Yeah. But after this match, Mankind chases Paul Bearer up the aisle with a chair, a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Taker's kind of selling as he stumbles up the aisle. And I just thought it's a really good showing. So much intensity. Like, this match is just, if you had to say what's one word, like, intense is it. It's the closest that professional wrestling looks to real, you know, aside from having a legitimate Brock Lesnar in there or something, you know, when he's breaking people up in the hard way. But it's really good. And again, just a new style for Undertaker, like Owen Hart mentioned and we've mentioned, and really cool to see, you know, because again, the whole point of this podcast is A, to discuss these matches, and B, to discuss the Undertaker's evolution over the course of his career. And we definitely see a new, more intense, angry man. And I'm glad you pointed out the air quotes, the audible air quotes for inadvertently, because we'll get into that as 1996 continues to go. We'll see what happens with he and Paul Bearer. Yeah. Good stuff, man.
You know, just talking about the evolution of the Undertaker, of one character over this journey of his career. This is a different page in the Undertaker. It's a different type of matchup. It's like a really stark contrast from everything else in the WWF right now. This intensity, this type of feud, and credit goes to Mankind as well for bringing that out of the Undertaker, for being the kind of opponent to draw that type of match out of the Undertaker, and to give him that new layer, that new depth to his character, to his in-ring style. And we're going to see more and more of it here as the months go on with their feud and Undertaker's feuds with other people. But the story.
Do you think?
Go ahead.
No, I was going to. Do you think? This just came to me right now as we're talking. Do you think that maybe Mick Foley thinks he has something to prove, and maybe Undertaker as well? Because again, Vince was kind of poo-pooing all over, this decision to bring in Mick Foley, as the dirt sheets tell us, and even Jim Ross has told on this podcast. Do you think that maybe they thought they had something to prove here, so they really kicked it up a notch? That's just me spitballing here, but I wonder if that's part of the case here, because they really, this stuff is good. It's good stuff, man.
I think they absolutely had something to prove, because looking back at the build-up to this, I'm not sure that the Vince McMahon and the creative team, whoever it was back then, necessarily saw this as a major feud or a major star, right? Because they're not giving it a ton of build-up, and then we're going to see next month the build-up just gets dropped all of a sudden, and we go back to Goldust, and it's just really weird. And not to spoil our next episode, but the build-up really sucks for next week's episode. Yeah. So I feel like maybe they changed their plans around after this match happened, to see that, okay, maybe we need to give these guys a longer feud, maybe we need to draw this out more, do something more with Mankind, Undertaker, Paul Bearer, all of that. I don't know, but I think they definitely had something to prove, and maybe it wasn't all set in stone how big of a star Mankind was going to be, or what kind of role he was going to have going into this. So I think that's a great point.
That's true.
And
I was going to say, P.S. 2 weeks after this show, the NWO debuts at Bash at the Beach. So
yes,
we're going to have to see the WWF kick it up a notch, because you're going to, you mentioned all these cartoony characters, like we're going to get the Goon and TL Hopper and all this stuff. Meanwhile, on the other channel on Nitro, in 2 weeks from this show, we get the NWO. The turning point in the Monday Night Wars. Wrestling changed forever that night, and the WWF's going to have to do something to pick up some steam here and change their direction, and I just think that's a cool little fun fact I just happened to point out. I happened to look and see what the date was. So, we'll see WWF kick it up a notch.
Well, I wanted to point that out too. Let's talk about that on the next episode. It'll be fitting for those 2 July pay-per-views of 1996. We can talk a little bit more about that on next week's episode, next Friday. But just to wrap things up with this episode, real quick, this is the first time we've ever seen any sort of tension, any sort of miscue, any sort of friction at all between Paul Bearer and The Undertaker. Over 6 years of them being together, this is the first time Paul Bearer has ever really cost The Undertaker a match. There's been any sort of anything that we've seen of them just not being totally in sync with each other here. So that's pretty amazing. If you look at things now, you just never see teams, partnerships, managers, and wrestlers hardly ever see them last that long. Now we're seeing a little bit of it now. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar have been together for a really long time. That's the closest I think that you can compare to Paul Bearer and The Undertaker. But those guys aren't even on TV every week. So it's maybe a little bit different, not quite the same, but just pretty amazing how they've been able to hold off on teasing anything like that. And they will continue to tease it. It will continue to be a part of the story here. They're making it sound like Owen Hart is just being ridiculous, being a silly heel, trying to stir up dissension between those two. But there may be more to that story than meets the eye. But we'll talk about that on the next episode. We'll talk about what's happening in the world of wrestling, in WCW and the competition as well on next week's episode. And we'll talk about Undertaker versus Goldust at In Your House International Incident, July 1996 on next week's episode as well. But we want to hear what you thought of this episode, what you thought of this match, Undertaker versus Mankind at King of the Ring 96. We want to hear from you, so leave a comment. leave us a rating on iTunes, on Podomatic, on Stitcher, on Google Play, on YouTube, on all those sort of things. Subscribe to us. Hit us up on Twitter at Talking Taker. You can hit me up as well at Alex Dorio. And you can leave a message for hashtag Twitterless Travis on there as well, and he'll get that
Boom.
for sure.
Tremendous.
And you can hit us up on the Facebook page. We both check on that and update that as well. All throughout the week with videos, with clips, with pictures, with all sorts of fun stuff. So if you're Undertaker Mark like we are, for Big Mark, Mean Mark, then hit us up on there. Enjoy it. We won't try to bombard you.
I didn't even put that together.
Yeah.
Big Mark. Yeah. Oh, we need to shout out at Adam_Rotella. He put us over. He went and listened. He watched the King Kong Bundy Undertaker match.
God bless him.
I don't know why. God bless you, Adam. And reviewed our podcast of it and listened to it and put a video on his website or his Twitter at Adam_Rotella and just kind of talks about it and puts us over. We appreciate you listening to that, and we encourage you guys to go follow him as well. He's got some good stuff. I think it's a NWA enthusiast. Is that what his hashtag thing is?
There's a little hashtag, but yeah, his Twitter handle is at Adam_Rotella, and he's got talks about NWA, a lot of old school stuff on his Twitter page, posts some fun videos on there. So once again, thanks, Adam. We appreciate the feedback. We appreciate you putting us over, and hope everybody will go follow him as well. And we want to hear from you. We appreciate you listening, and we love to hear from you.
Yep. If you were there in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at the Mecca Arena, we'd like to hear from you. If you dressed up. We haven't seen too much cosplay these last few years in Undertaker's career.
Disappointing.
So, yeah, a little disappointing. Thanks a lot, guys. But anyway, other than that, we'll talk to you next week. Take her easy.
Look at her! Nice to see you off the streets for a change. What's the matter? Strip clubs closed tonight?
I think we just need to
Look
apologize.
at Burger King. I think you made one too many trips there, hadn't you?
On behalf of the
Hey, when you wear
Wrestling
blue, do
Federation.
people try to mail letters at you?
Well, Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh my goodness. Look at these two. Take a good look at her face.
Oh, do I have
It's
to?
girls like you that